Hi friends, it's Liz here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, thank you so much for joining me as well. Today I'm going to show you how I made one of these ephemera folios, I guess, or I'm not even sure what to call them, but I was just kind of getting ready to send some stuff in the mail, and I thought I would film the process. One of them, of course, is themed Alice in Wonderland, as you can see here, and the other one I just kind of made shabby chic style. I'm going to show you how I made this one, and then at the end I will show you all the pieces that I used to fill it, because I'm so excited about all the little bits and pieces that I've added to this one. So let's get started. It's going to be pretty easy to make if you have a few of the pieces at home. I'm using some junk mail envelopes as well as some digitals, but of course, as always, you can use anything that you have on hand, and you can just always tailor it to make it how you want. Okay, so I start with the 9 by 12 envelope. Now, if you don't have an envelope, you can always use cardstock, and you won't have a pocket, but you'll still have, the folio kind of part to it. But I wanted to use this envelope. I'm going to be scoring it in the center because I want it to kind of lay flat, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'll be scoring it in the center. You don't have to do this. You can just fold it in half, of course. And I'm just going to use my scoreboard because I find that so much easier. And you can see here how it's got a little bit of a gap in between the center. This way, I guess it doesn't have the alligator mouth that most pieces do if you don't score them in the center. And as always, as I said, you can kind of make it with whatever you have on hand, and you don't have to use the scoreboard. I did share a similar technique in an easy beginner junk journal. I will share that tutorial below, and I just showed you guys how to make a junk journal, no sewing, no stitching, and it has this kind of similar technique to it. So I will link that below if you haven't seen it, and if you are new to junk journaling or making kind of junk journal projects, you might enjoy that. So here I'm just scoring the edges, just as best as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Of course, this is just for me to show you how I'm doing it, but you can take your time using your bone folder to make the score lines really sharp and crisp, but that again is up to you. So you can see here I'm just kind of folding both sides because I want to make sure that it has that fold on either end, and I'm left with a nice little kind of 1/4 inch gap in the center. So I'll show you that in a minute. Just see how that's there, that little kind of space. That's good if you're going to be adding lots of stuff in between, so like I said, it won't kind of make it all alligator mouth. I promise that I do come back on in frame very quickly. It's just sometimes I as I'm filming, I can't quite see sometimes what I'm doing, so I have to double check. Okay, so we're left with this, and now we're ready to decorate. So for this as well, you can grab anything you want. I'm using digitals for this one because I have lots of extras laying around, but you can use scrapbook paper, your favorite designer paper, etc., even wrapping paper. And I loved this Artie Mae's freebie. She had it, I think, in her Facebook group, and I just love these florals, so I thought I would use them. I've also used some scrapbook paper, and I think as well a piece from my porch prints. So I've cut them to size. I'm not going to give you measurements because it depends on what you are using, and I just like to leave a little kind of gap between the edges. Here I'm just showing you that for the inside of the envelope, I made sure to put the glue on the actual envelope itself and not on the paper, or else I may have glued that pocket closed. If you want to glue it closed, then you can just go ahead and add glue to your paper you are attaching to the envelope, but I just wanted to kind of leave a little open gap there. So the next thing you need, and again, you can use whatever you want, but I wanted to repurpose some junk mail envelopes, and that just makes that little flip out for the folio there. I'm just kind of selecting one that I think will fit nicely. I've opened it kind of on the top so that I have a pocket to the right. You'll see what I mean in a moment. And again, you can use, a regular envelope if you don't want the little window, or if you have one with a window, you can use the window. I like using these ones because you know, I don't like to throw them out, and I like to repurpose them. I do have a few other projects in a playlist showing you guys how I reuse junk mail envelopes, including one where I make a journal cover and some additional kind of ephemera pockets, etc. I will link those below if you haven't seen them, but I'm just loving repurposing these envelopes for various things. Here I'm just showing you I folded one side to the back because I want to have a pocket in the back of the envelope, and you'll see what I mean as you kind of see the process. I folded half of it to the back. I'm going to be gluing it on two sides, and then that's going to make my back pocket for the flip out. And then I'm just going to show you how I will be attaching it with kind of like a paper hinge, but you'll see that in a second. So here I'm just gluing the pieces together. I may decorate the front of this envelope so that it covers most of it, or I may just cover, you know, part of it. I do have videos showing you how I like to collage on top of these to cover the envelope completely. Again, I will link those below in case you're interested or you haven't seen them. So here I grabbed one of the extra bits of paper that I was using, and I'm going to make a paper hinge to attach the junk mail envelope to the base. And you can use paper, you can use fabric, you can use tape, whatever you would like. And this kind of just makes it a nice hidden hinge from the front, but it also looks nice from the back when you flip it over. So I'll just be gluing that on. I also wanted to remind you, if you have not entered my giveaway, it closes in a few days. I'm so excited about it. If you've been leaving comments in my other videos since then and you've entered the giveaway, I'm going to add your name as an additional entry. So you'll have extra entries to this giveaway. And I guess anyone going forward, when I start letting you guys know the other ones, you'll have a chance to have more entries because you leave me comments, and I truly appreciate them. I thank you so much for your support. All my subscribers, thank you so much. I do this because I love it, and I love it because you guys also enjoy watching and get inspired by me sharing with you. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, so here you just see how I've added glue to the other side of the hinge, and I'm just making sure that it adheres properly. Now, just making sure, you know, before it's fully glued on, that it flips out nicely. There's nothing kind of getting in the way of the flip out, and it's a nice even adhesion to it. So you can see that there. I'm loving how it's turning out. I'll be adding a few more pockets and probably a belly band as well. And then I'll show you guys all the bits and pieces that I'm adding to this one. So the next part is going to be the belly band. And again, as you can see here, I'm just kind of repurposing bits and pieces that were left over from the covers that I made for the front and back. And I'll make this one into a belly band. So I'm adding glue kind of to like a 1/4 inch from the top and bottom because I want to make sure that it sticks properly to the page. Again, you can always go ahead and, you know, kind of run some stitches through these when you're done to kind of adhere them better if you wanted to. But I try to show you projects that can be easily done, you know, with things that you may have at home. So I'm liking how that's turning out. And you can see just how nice and even that's kind of turning out. You can always distress the edges if you don't want to see a lot of that kind of yellow piece sticking out from the envelope. Again, I'm repurposing some pieces, and I'm going to make these into pockets, as you can see here. So I'll have a pocket at the bottom and one kind of closer to the top, and then it'll just kind of help me add more pieces before you know, this would be sent out in the mail. And the other thing I like to do is when I'm prepping pockets is I like to score at the end at least a 1/4 inch from either side, because it gives the page the pocket a little more room to add more things to it, so it's not fully flat on the page if you know what I mean. So I'll be adding glue to this end, and then the bottom for the pockets, and that gives me just a little bit of space to add more pieces to it. So now I'll just be adding the glue. Again, you can use whatever glue you prefer. This is my favorite. I will also link below some of my favorite supplies you may have seen here or that I prefer to use in my projects. I know a lot of you ask me sometimes, and I'd like to just sort of have that down there for you to check out if you want to. So here I'm just adding the bottom pocket, trying to make sure it's as even as possible. But again, you know, I don't worry about that too much. I just like to kind of have fun with the pieces. Okay, so I'll just be attaching the second pocket, and then you'll kind of see how nicely that's been put together. Again, you can, you know, add whatever you want to the one you're making. And by the way, thank you so much to those of you that tag me on Instagram and show me the projects that you have been inspired to make by watching my videos. That makes me so happy. I really appreciate it. It just makes it so amazing to know that you guys are enjoying what I share with you and you get inspired to create as well. Okay, so the next part is decorating the pocket, the front. I love using these little die cuts, and many of you have asked me if I could link this one, and I can't find it anymore, but I have since found something similar. I think it's by Tim Holtz. I have linked it in my favorite supplies list. I love using this because it's so versatile. You can use any kind of paper you want. Here I kind of made it so that I have a pocket in the front and the back, and I just really like, you know, how all these little bits add just character to a project. So here I forgot to mention there is a pocket here. I think that's why I said we were folding the envelope over to make a pocket in the back. Then you've got your nice big belly band. You can add whatever you want to that. You've got your two pockets there, and then of course you have your giant envelope pocket in the back. So this can totally be filled with so many goodies for your pen pals, or for happy mail, or you know, just to kind of have on your desk with your ephemera that you want to use. I think it's just nice to have a different way to hold ephemera, especially if you theme it. So let's say you have one themed for, like I had for Alice in Wonderland, this could be your shabby chic. You could have one for gardening, etc., etc. And I think they're just so fun to have handy, you know, if you've cut up all your pieces and they're all ready to go. So let's see what I'm going to do next here is just decorate the pocket. I think that's where I'm going next. So sorry, yeah, for the front, I did show you guys how I made these kind of like scrappy clusters before. I did a quick tutorial on that, and I will link it below. They're so fun to make, and you use up your fabric, paper, scraps, whatever you have. So I've just added that to the top to kind of give it more decoration. As you can see, it just looks really nice, and a quick way to decorate something. So for the pocket here, or the little bag, I'm just adding a digital piece that I love. I think that one's from Digital Collage Club, which again I will link below, anything that I've used. I have coupon codes for a lot of products as well, you guys, so don't forget to check those out. It's always good to save a little bit of extra if you're going to be purchasing something, so I will link those below. Here I'm just using a little bit of cheesecloth that I have coffee stained, and then I cut up those little flower petals. I showed you the little paper punch. I don't think they have that anymore. That's a Martha Stewart one, so I can't even link that to anything, I don't think, at this point. I have punched out a little bit of the petals from that vintage wallpaper piece that you see there to the left, and I love how vintage wallpaper feels. It's just got such a nice thickness to it. So I just went ahead and glued everything on. As always, I don't like to waste your time with you watching me glue everything. But for the flower here, I'm just going to show you, just probably add another little extra piece to the top to just give it a little bit more color. And then I'll be filling it up and showing you guys what I am adding to it, which again, it's just so fun to kind of think of, you know, pieces that someone else might use and enjoy. And that's kind of how I like to fill my little ephemera folders or ephemera folios. Oh, I'm really liking how it turned out. I like the colors. I like the theme to it. And yeah, so let me just show you how I have filled it. So for the front, I just added a little tag to it with a little bit of ribbon. And again, you know, that could be anything you want to put in there. So we've got the little file folder that I made with a little piece of coffee stained digital paper. Then we've got the little back pocket, and this one I did fill it with some die cuts, all different shapes, the mason jars, some hearts, some flowers, some circles, just a variety of things that you could use in your projects. I just think it's always fun to get all these little extra pieces that you can have on hand. And the little die cut bag, I did make it with a digital that I kind of made myself with some kind of stained doily and different kind of stained paper. The belly band, I just added one of these bags, which I think are always fun to have bags with something different on them. These little coin envelopes, which are so fun to use, and then another one of these little bags. Again, I just added some additional pieces to it. You've got your little tags and tickets, etc. I can continue to load this much more, and love the tiny tags, so I had to put some in there as well. And then this side with the pockets, I have again just more pieces that I think are fun to add to anything. So these two I received from Your Creative Studio, and I like to add those because it's just different from your regular you know, pieces of ephemera that you might have around. These are two vintage index cards, which I think are so great to add to any project. I've got some tags that I've punched out, and I like them because it's a different design on them. You know, it's not just like the little edges that you cut off on the end. Of course, some doilies, because you need those for just about any project. And then I love these Tim Holtz, I don't even know what they're called. I do have it linked below in my favorite supplies list. I love adding these to any project because you've got just additional little pockets with every little slit that's there. This little pocket one as well is so cute with a design. So again, I just kind of went ahead and punched out a bunch of things that I thought might be useful, and you know, things that not everybody would have. Some vintage pieces, some vintage looking pieces. It's always nice to have a variety of that. And then I made another one of those little pockets from the die cut, but that time I used book page from a gardening book, this one here, and I just added another different tag to it as well. I just love the tags with that design. The other fun thing that I added is these tiny envelopes. I love anything tiny. If you guys watch my videos, I love making minis. So I added 3 different envelopes, one with Tim Holtz paper, one with different cardstock, and then one that I made with some nice magazine paper. I love different kinds of papers and textures, and so I added that. And then the last thing I'll do is probably add some pieces to the big pocket. So I hope you enjoyed the share. I hope you make one. I hope you like the video. Leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by.